very good evening and welcome to the news tonight. In the next 30 minutes, Tracy Shilshi, will take you through the day's top stories. Let's start with the headlines. Indian Army inflicts heavy casualties on insurgents belonging to the National Socialist Council of Nagaland Kaplang Group. Operation near the Myanmar border triggered after the militants attacked an army column. Union Cabinet decides that the centre will provide 80% funds to modernize police force for the next 3 years. Also approves extension of retirement age of doctors to 65 years to tackle shortage. Government responds to senior BJP leader Yashwant Sinhas' criticism of economic slowdown, reiterates that not only is the Indian economy the fastest growing in the world, but its credibility is well established on the global stage. And a rocket attack greets US Defense Secretary James Mattis in Afghanistan, says that United States will send 3,000 more troops to Afghanistan to help train security forces fighting the Taliban and other militant groups. Our top story, the Indian Army conducted operations against Naga insurgents along the India-Myanmar border. According to an army statement, heavy casualties were inflicted on members of the National Socialist Council of Nagaland Kaplang Group in retaliatory fire along the India-Myanmar border on Wednesday. The operation was triggered after unidentified NSCN-K insurgents attacked an army column. No Indian soldier was injured in the attack. The army also asserted that Indian troops did not cross the international border. Remember, in June 2015, the army conducted a similar operation against banned insurgent groups following the killing of 20 soldiers in Manipur. Meanwhile, 2 civilians were injured in firing by the Pakistani army along the LOC in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. The Pakistani army targeted forward posts and villages in Bhimbar Gali, Balakot, Shahpur and Poonch areas with mortars and automatic weapons. On Sunday, 2 soldiers were injured as Pakistan opened fire at forward posts along the line of control in Balakot sector. Over 20,000 people have fled their villages along the international border in Arnia and Arispura sectors due to firing and shelling from across the border. In other news, the Union Cabinet has given its approval for implementation of umbrella scheme of modernization of police forces for the next 3 fiscal years till 2019-20. The financial outlay for the scheme over the next 3-year period is over 25,000 crore rupees. Earlier, there were 17 small schemes which were synergized and approved by the Cabinet Committee on Security.
The centre will provide monetary support to states to modernize the police force for 3 years till 2019-20. Home Minister Raj Nath Singh said on Wednesday that out of the 25,060 crore earmarked for this, the centre will provide 80%. The Cabinet Committee on Security decided that northeastern states, Jammu and Kashmir and left-wing extremism affected states will also be covered under the project.
देश की इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी की अहमियत को समझते हुए ये फैसला किया गया कि नहीं, कुछ धनराशि राज्यों को मुहैया कराई जानी चाहिए। भले ही 32% से 42% शेयर उनको मिल रहा हो, इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी को स्ट्रेंथन करने के लिए, राज्यों की लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की सिचुएशन को इंप्रूव करने के लिए।
The Cabinet also decided to extend the retirement age of doctors to 65 years. This is aimed at reducing the shortage of doctors. Installation of telecom towers in army cantonments was also approved to improve mobile phone connectivity.
तो आज कैबिनेट ने एक नीतिगत फैसला किया है जिसमें वह ट्रांसपेरेंट मैकेनिज्म, द डिफेंस लैंड्स कैन बी गिवन टू द मोबाइल ऑपरेटर्स, टू द इंटरनेट सर्विस ऑपरेटर्स फॉर हैविंग शेयर्ड टावर्स टू फर्दर रीइंफोर्स their connectivity.
The Cabinet also approved signing the Interbank Local Currency Credit Line Agreement by Exim Bank with participating member banks under the BRICS Interbank Cooperation Mechanism. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The government has downplayed senior BJP leader Yashwant Sinhas' criticism of the centre, saying that the Indian economy is the fastest growing in the world and the country's credibility has been established in the international arena. While responding to a question on Yashwant Sinhas' remarks over the state of the economy, Home Minister Raj Nath Singh said that no one should forget that India is the fastest growing economy in the world.
भारत पूरे वर्ल्ड की एक फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी है और इस सच्चाई को किसी को भूलना नहीं चाहिए। और आर्थिक मामलों में अंतर्राष्ट्रीय जगत में भारत की एक साख बनी है। इसकी क्रेडिबिलिटी एस्टेब्लिश हुई है इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी में भारत की।
If you see some of the landmark reforms that this government has brought in, they are unprecedented. Something like GST was never imagined to be possible in a country of the size and scale of India. In fact, we are the largest country in the world to have implemented GST. And working with a steadfast purpose of serving the poorest of the poor. The poor has been the focus of every action of this government. I think this kind of massive structural reform, landmark reforms that this government has done, and along with that given this nation one of the cleanest government ever.
In a newspaper article, Sinha had criticized Arun Jaitley over what he called the mess the finance minister has made of the economy. Sinha was the finance minister in the Atal Bihari Vajpayee-led NDA government. He also said that an economic revival by the time of the next Lok Sabha election was highly unlikely. We'll continue getting you more reactions on that story. Meanwhile, Mahendra Kumar Singh was appointed as Banaras Hindu University Chief Proctor on Wednesday, a day after O.N. Singh resigned, taking moral responsibility for the recent clashes in the college campus. Meanwhile, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has said that prime reports suggested the role of anti-social elements behind the violence.
The Chief Proctor of the Banaras Hindu University, Onkar Nath Singh, resigned, taking moral responsibility for the recent violence on the campus. The Vice-Chancellor accepted his resignation. Professor M.K. Singh of the BHU Medical College has reportedly been given the charge of the Chief Proctor. This comes after a probe committee held the BHU administration guilty of not handling the situation sensitively. On Tuesday, the National Human Rights Commission also issued a notice to the Chief Secretary, DGP and BHU VC seeking a detailed report on the matter. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath termed the violence a conspiracy by anti-social elements. Adityanath also asked the administration not to harass any student in investigating the issue.
इस सब की मजिस्ट्रियल जांच के आदेश दे दिए गए हैं। पूरी रिपोर्ट आने जा रही है। प्रशासन को सख्त हिदायत इस बात की दी गई है, किसी भी छात्र या छात्रा को परेशान न करें, लेकिन छात्र और छात्रा की आड़ में जो असामाजिक तत्व थे जिन्होंने माहौल को बिगाड़ा है, इसकी तह तक जाएं।
Opposition parties once again targeted the BJP over the police action on the campus.
सरकार वीसी को भी बचा रही है और सरकार पुलिस को भी बचा रही है और सरकार की अभी भी आंखें नहीं खुली। मैंने सुना कि सरकार का बयान आया कि लाठीचार्ज पुलिस ने नहीं किया। हम तो सोचते थे सरकार केवल गूंगी भी है, लेकिन आज पता चला कि सरकार अंधी भी है।
There have been continuous failures of the government on every front. And since they have no answers and no accountability, they will just pass the buck to somebody else. To blame the opposition in BHU is a bit far-fetched and ridiculous.
कुल उपकुलपति को, वाइस चांसलर को अविलंब प्रभाव से उनके पद से हटाया जाना चाहिए।
You cannot blame it on opposition. It is the failure of his own government. It is the outrageous action of his own police forces. What happened in BHU should be condemned by everybody in the strongest possible terms.
Taking cognizance of the incident, the Uttar Pradesh government ordered a magisterial probe into the violence. This was after the BHU ordered an inquiry by a retired judge on Tuesday. Violence broke out on the BHU campus on Saturday night after some students, including girls, held a protest against an eve-teasing incident. The police crackdown on the clashes left several students and policemen injured. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
President Ram Nath Kovind today said that various segments of tourism like spiritual, medical, wildlife and adventure have a tremendous growth potential in India. He said this as he presented the National Tourism Awards, saying that a large number of people depend on tourism for their livelihood across the country The president underlined that the tourism industry can contribute significantly in generating employment opportunities and eliminating poverty. According to an assessment, an investment of 10 lakh rupees in the tourism industry provides employment to about 90 people, which is much more than the 45 in agriculture and 13 in manufacturing. In 2016, tourism's contribution to the GDP was 9.6% and 9.3% to the total employment in India.
पर्यटन और भ्रमण उद्योग का विश्व की जीडीपी में 10.2% का योगदान है। ऐसा अनुमान है कि दुनिया का हर 10वां व्यक्ति पर्यटन उद्योग में काम करता है। हमारे देश में भी एक बहुत बड़े वर्ग की रोजी रोटी इसी उद्योग से जुड़ी है। वर्ष 2016 के दौरान भारत में इस उद्योग का जीडीपी को कुल 9.6% तथा कुल रोजगार को 9.3% योगदान था। कम लागत से अधिक लोगों के लिए स्थायी रूप से रोजगार के अवसर पैदा करने और गरीबी दूर करने में पर्यटन उद्योग बहुत अधिक योगदान कर सकता है।
In other news, on the third day of his Gujarat tour, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi hit out at the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Speaking at Rajkot, Rahul Gandhi said that the demonetization and GST rollout decisions badly affected the country's economy. Gandhi said that the Prime Minister's decision to scrap high-denomination currency notes shocked even the world's best economists, including former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Rahul Gandhi was interacting with small and medium entrepreneurs in Rajkot. He assured the trader community that he would urge the government to simplify the goods and services tax. BJP President Amit Shah also began his 3-day visit to Gujarat to chalk out a strategy for the assembly polls due later this year.
गुस्से से इस देश में कुछ नहीं हो सकता है। जब इस सिस्टम में गुस्सा होता है, यह सिस्टम जैम होता है। तो मेरी मेन कंप्लेंट मोदी जी से, बीजेपी से, आरएसएस से यह है कि गुस्सा फैलाने से सॉल्यूशन कभी नहीं मिलेगी।
A day after Ashok Choudhary's expulsion from the post of the Bihar Congress president, he has said that the expulsion was insulting. He accused AICC General Secretary CP Joshi of hatching a conspiracy to place his favourite on the vacant post. The decision came after senior leaders in Delhi indicated that Ashok Choudhary was plotting a split in the legislature party and nudging MLAs and leaders to cross over to the ruling JDU. Earlier in September, Choudhary had hit out at senior leaders in Delhi for their handling of Bihar and spreading rumours that he was trying to engineer a split.
महामंत्री सीपी जोशी ने आला कमान को गुमराह करके एक दलित नेता को प्रदेश में अपमानित करने का काम किया है, उससे मैं असहज हूं। अगर मुझे ये मांगा जाता, मुझसे इस्तीफा मांगा जाता, मुझसे कहा जाता कि आप इस्तीफा दे दीजिए, तब मुझे अपने आप को मैं गौरवान्वित महसूस करता कि 4.5 साल के कार्यकाल में पार्टी ने कम से कम मुझसे इस्तीफा मांगा, क्योंकि मैं इस्तीफा देने के लिए बैठा हुआ था, क्योंकि पार्टी को मैं एम्बेरस नहीं करना चाहता, इसीलिए मैं पार्टी से इस्तीफा नहीं दिया, क्योंकि एक लंबे समय तक मैं भावनात्मक इस पार्टी के साथ मेरा लगाव रहा है।
And here are more national news updates in Nationwide. Gorkha Janmukti Morcha have called off the indefinite shutdown in Darjeeling Hills after 3.5 months. People came out on the streets and celebrated the resumption of normal life in Darjeeling. All shops and market areas reopened from Wednesday morning. The GJM ended the strike in response to an appeal by Home Minister Rajya Nath Singh, who asked the Union Home Secretary to convene an official level meeting within a fortnight to discuss all related issues. The BSE Sensex tanked 440 points to end at over 3-month low of 31,159 due to broad selling by investors ahead of the expiry of the September derivatives and weakness in the rupee amid mixed global cues. Extending its falling streak for the 7th straight session, this was the weakest closing for the Sensex since June 30th. At least 2 Maoists, including a woman, were killed in an encounter by Odisha police at Salepali forest in Bargarh district. 2 303 rifles were also recovered. Odisha police launched a combing operation last night following a tip-off about the presence of a number of Maoists in the forest area. It was during this operation that Maoists opened fire at the policemen. A Delhi court extended the judicial custody of Kashmiri separatist leader Shabir Shah and a suspected hawala dealer till the 13th of October in a 2005 money laundering case for alleged terror funding. The additional sessions judge Siddharth Sharma gave copies of the final report to Shah and alleged hawala dealer Muhammad Aslam Wani and set the next date for hearing on 13th of October. Shah was arrested from Srinagar by the Enforcement Directorate on the 26th of July, a day after several Hurriyat leaders were taken into custody in a case of terror funding. With a quick break here, up next we'll get you the top international stories.
Opposition is trying to gain grounds on the fact that the government is not doing enough on the economic front, purely in terms of the perception battle. Do you think that the government looks a little jittery?
People have expressed and demonstrated complete trust in the leadership of Narendra Modi ji and his government.
Should we see this Economic Advisory Council as a step to fix the economy or fast-track the economy?
Creating the advisory council with the different skill sets and different backgrounds is going to help the government. It will assist the government in a better way.
The BJP will become a main player at the cost of its allies. For example, in South, you have an ally like TDP.
You know, outside TDP and outside BJP, outside NDA, there is enough space.
Watch to the point with the National General Secretary of BJP, Muralidhar Rao, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Jade was popular during Mughal era and gained prominence during Akbar's rule in 15th and 16th century. It came all the way from Iran and Central Asia in attractive colors. The royalty had a unique use for it, since jade changed color when it came in contact with arsenic. They started utensils like plates, jars, bowls, and even hookah with it, and thereby avoided getting poisoned by rivals.
Welcome back. Let's get to international news. And US Defense Secretary James Mattis arrived in Kabul, Afghanistan on an unannounced visit on Wednesday after wrapping up his two-day trip to India. The visit comes after US President Donald Trump announced a new strategy for Afghanistan, where the US has promised a step-up military campaign against Taliban. James Mattis said that the United States will send 3,000 troops more to Afghanistan to help train security forces fighting the Taliban and other militant groups. Hours after Mattis and NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg landed at Hamid Karzai International Airport, multiple rockets hit an open area close to the facility. There were no reports of casualties or damage in the attack, for which terrorist group Islamic State claimed responsibility. Saudi Arabia is easing restrictions on women driving, finally allowing almost half its population to get behind the wheel. A royal decree has been issued that will allow women in the country to drive. The move is in line with a series of changes that have been rippling in the Islamic kingdom since the rise of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
This may be a common sight world over. Women behind the wheel, getting on with their lives. But for Saudi Arabia, this is going to happen for the first time and therefore is a big deal. King Salman has issued a decree allowing women to drive for the first time. Government ministries are to prepare reports within 30 days and the order will be implemented by June 2018.
هذا احنا في شارع النجاح في مدينة الأحساء. توصلين فوق. طلعت مع خواتي وصلهم نقضي مشاويرهم بدون ما يتعطلون ينتظرون سواقين ينتظرون أحد يوصلهم. قلنا احنا نقضي مشاويرنا بنفسنا. ان شاء الله رايحين مشغل الامل. رايحين مشغل الامل. عندك رخصة؟ وعندي رخصة وعارفة اسوق، فان شاء الله ما في اي خطورة علينا وعلى خواتنا ان شاء الله.
Under the current system, only men are allowed driving licenses. Rights groups in the kingdom have campaigned for years to allow women to drive. Some women have been imprisoned for defying the rule. But this move will ease restrictions on women and has huge implications for the Saudi economy and the women's ability to work. The Islamic Kingdom recently allowed women to participate in National Day celebrations for the first time.
أنا جاية من منطقة تبوك حتى أحضر الحفلة هذه وتكون أمل لنا في أنه يكون مستقبلا نحضر حتى في المباريات في الأفراح في الأشياء اللي يعني تخصنا كشعب سعودي.
The move has been welcomed world over, with the US calling it a historic day.
We're certainly happy to hear that. If Saudi women are now able to drive, certainly here in the United States, we would certainly welcome that. And so I think it's a great step in the right direction for that country.
However, conservative voices within the country accuse the government of bending the verses of Sharia. This decree is in line with a program called Vision 2030, promoted by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to modernize Saudi society. The Crown Prince, who was appointed by his father to the position in June, is seen as a major power in the country and is expected by many to be named king before too long. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Pakistan's Finance Minister Ashok Choudhary was indicted by an anti-corruption court on Wednesday for possessing assets beyond his known sources of income. Choudhary pleaded not guilty to the charges in a corruption case stemming from documents leaked from a Panama law firm. The National Accountability Bureau filed a case against him on the 8th of September following the 28th July verdict of the Supreme Court, which disqualified Nawaz Sharif as the Prime Minister of the country. The ruling party, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, rejected the charges against Ashok Choudhary, alleging that the cases were politically motivated. And here are some more updates from across the world in Global Buzz. Thailand's Supreme Court sentenced ousted Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra in absentia to 5 years in prison for criminal negligence. Shinawatra's administration was toppled in a 2014 coup, and she faced up to 10 years in prison for negligence over the costly scheme that helped her get elected in 2011. A resolution was introduced in the US House of Representatives by two influential leaders to support India's permanent membership in the UN Security Council. Congressman Ami Bera said that India is the world's oldest and largest democracy and shared common values with the US. He said that the time has come to recognize its role in increasing global prosperity. Explosions set off by an accidental blast continued at a military ammunition depot in central Ukraine on Wednesday near the west of Kiev. One person was injured. Rescue teams evacuated 24,000 people from 6 nearby towns and villages. Soldiers have been sent to patrol abandoned residential areas. And finally, some quick updates from the world of sports in SportsBeat. Five-time world champion Viswanathan Anand took a win over German international master Loup Nicolas in the Isle of Man International Tournament. Harika Dronavilli played out a draw against Swedish Grandmaster Neil Grandelius in the third round. Playing with white pieces, Anand outwitted his opponent, who was 279 points below him in 42 moves. World number 10 Harika, meanwhile, started off with an attacking frame against her equally aggressive opponent till both signed truce after 45 moves. India will host the South Asian Boxing Championship for the first time in Guwahati from the 6th to the 10th of December. India will also host the India International Open Tournament in New Delhi in the third week of January. In a press conference, the Boxing Federation of India said that Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh will participate in the championship with other SAARC countries. Cristiano Ronaldo scored twice in his 400th Real Madrid appearance as the Champions League holders defeated Borussia Dortmund 3-1. While Gareth Bale struck the opening goal, Real Madrid secured an 18th-minute lead with the Welshman's support to Ronaldo for the second just after half-time. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang then scored with Gonzalo Castro's cross to give Dortmund hope but Ronaldo got past Roman Burki to score the third goal and cement a second straight win for Real in Group H. That's it on the news tonight. Thank you for joining us.